About a month ago, I gave you a quick preview of Lori's new garden. I thought that it would be interesting to show you what it looks like now. There's a whole lot more green. We have pretty much finished off our snap peas, and we're now at the beginning of the tsunami of some other beans and some of the herbs. Zucchinis are plentiful. The main reason I came out here, however, is because I wanted to show you one of my nemeses. We do have a sumac growth here, which has its pros and cons, but we also have an invasive multiflora roses. Not much to commend themselves, except shelter as rabbits. They were introduced by the government to help control erosion and provide shelter, but they've proven to be so aggressive at growing that the government is now strongly recommending that we try to control or eliminate patches of them. Back to the office. While we were outside, I forgot to tell you that the multifloral rose bushes displaced blackberries, which are far preferable to the multiflora roses. Our sort of half-hearted attempts to control the rose bushes have failed because they're quite aggressive. So we're fighting fire with fire, and we're being a little more aggressive this year. I am Peter Albright, and I'm the Bible study facilitator for Accessible Fellowship. Just coincidentally, while I was setting up to record this part of the video after I came in from the outside, the UPS fellow stopped and dropped off our new study guide entitled We Belong to God. We'll start using that the beginning of September. And we would love to have you join us if you're not already there. In June, we talked about work, and in July, we've been talking about rest. We spent 2 weeks discussing the weekly Sabbath, and in the week coming up, the week of July 21st, we'll be talking about the Sabbath and the world, the earth, the land, all of creation. Our scripture will be taken from Leviticus 25 in the Old Testament. The stated purpose is for us to understand how Sabbath observance promotes healing, to reflect on positive experience of Sabbath rest, and to identify ways that our actions can promote the healing of creation. As I was preparing for this lesson, I came across an article by one Dr. Alistair Roberts. It was written in January of 2023, entitled The Sabbath as Key to Understanding Biblical Law. I will put a link to that article in the text below. Dr. Roberts talks about the Sabbath and liberty. He points out that as slaves in Egypt, the Israelites could not rest. They worked 7 days a week. After God freed them, he required them to take the last day, the seventh day of every week, off for rest for themselves, and also they were not allowed to have their servants or even their animals work on the seventh day. Roberts also talks about the Sabbath and the poor, how the seventh-year Sabbath breaks the poverty cycle for poor people and breaks the hold of materialism on the wealthy people. As I read and thought about Roberts' points, I thought about the Sabbath and land possession. Now, the concept of land ownership is not universal. For example, many of the first people in North America had no concept of land ownership, much to their own detriment. Land ownership was known in the Old Testament. We know that Father Abraham paid for a cave in which to bury his wife Sarah. So, if the regular Sabbath allows people and land to rest for 1 day out of 7, there is a Sabbath of Sabbaths. Every 7 years, the land is to rest for 1 whole year by God's plan. Every Jubilee year, which is 7 Sabbaths of Sabbaths, or every 50 years, God commanded the Israelis to allow their land to go fallow for a second year. The land would be fallow for the 49th year because it's the 7th year of 7. And then on the Jubilee year, it would be fallow for another year, 2 years in a row. We do not have to look far to see evidence that mankind has the power to dramatically alter the landscape of our earth. Within reason, it doesn't take long for the land to heal itself. These are some of the ideas that we will be addressing in the upcoming lesson. Accessible fellowship is non-denominational. We do tend to look at Scripture from an Anabaptist perspective, and you are welcome to join us. You'll find information for contact and login in the text below. Blessings, and go in peace.